Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is Grand Arena, the first match of Season 34, a 5v5 season. After a rough final week of 3v3, we were knocked down from Kyber 2 to Kyber 3, so we are starting this season here, but we'll climb up pretty quick. We're going to do a quick recap of how that last week went, and then we'll move on into the bracket. We went 0 for 3 for this final week. One of these I think would have been possible. So we're just going to go over which teams from my defense was able to get holds. So Malgus beating Gas, Malgus beating Malgus. This is why I just use GLs up against Malgus. I don't want to mess around with it if you've got the option to do so and the flexibility to do so, which this guy would have been able to do. Newt losing to Grievous, that's nice, a bit of a surprise. Rest of this is straightforward, and the Profundity here getting me the holds, and he really struggled up against Fleet. We couldn't get through the GLs that he set down on his defense, so couldn't even get to it. We had a pretty low banner count. But I'm happy with how Malgus performed. Round 2 up against Lance. This one was possible. And had I played a couple things differently, I think we could have possibly won this round, but this is the only round in which I feel like that. He just one-shot everything. I think if I would have went lighter on my defense, kept a little bit more on offense, we would have had some more flexibility to handle things there. And I goofed around a little bit with testing, and I don't think I should have. This guy did full clear my defense with no issue, which was not typical. I was hoping he was going to struggle, and he didn't. Round 3, this guy, he set like a 4GL. I don't recall specifically, but I just couldn't mess with his friend Wall at all. It was pretty rough. So Bad Batch here losing to Qui-Gon. They're not really a great 3v3 counter. So that's not a huge surprise. The rest of this, he doesn't have an issue with. I did make an adjustment. I did make this very weak, my defense this round, so that I could attempt to throw more at the defense I knew he was going to set, but it didn't really make a difference, and he didn't have any trouble. Rough week, really rough final week. We're not going to be living that 2GL life for too much longer. We're getting pretty close on Jabba. During the double drops after Thanksgiving, I made a lot of progress on Bossk, so that she's going to be finished fairly soon after Lando is done, so I'll be able to move on pretty quick. With this bracket, it's Kyber 3. My opponents range from 3 to 6 GLs, but most of them are in that 5 GL range. Triple B man, my opponent, he's at the lightest end, well, besides me, at 3 GLs. In terms of overall depth, something that this might be the final weeks of seeing things like this, because people are going to be able to push for roster depth a lot more easily. We have 149 on my opponent. I have the most depth at 217. Most players are in that like 150 range. My opponent's not even the lowest. There's another guy off screen that's at 135. With relic counts, I'm always at the low end just because overall I have the lowest amount of relics. 6-stop mods, plenty of people have more than me, but not hugely dwarfing things. But what really matters here are the top 25 averages and the top 500 averages. With the top 25 6-stop or speed mods, we're looking at plus 25.48 with me. My opponent is not too far behind at an average of plus 25.1. And I have the best in the bracket. Everyone else is in that 24 range. With the top 500, I am, again, the best at plus 16 on average. The rest of this bracket's weak. My opponents actually not that bad at plus 13.8. There's a guy off screen at plus 11. And in terms of counts, I'm just dwarfing my opponents. Especially this round's opponent, Triple B Man. Datacrons, there's a range, but most players are lightly participating. With the GLs, my opponent is sporting Sith Eternal Emperor, JML, and JMK. There are 3 Lord Vaders in the bracket. The rest of them, everyone has JML and JMK, and then it's just what combination of C, Ray, and SLKR there are. 2 players without Malgus. You see them both on screen. Those players also don't have Starkiller or Iden. The Idens are really bizarre. There's another player without Starkiller off screen all the way at the far end. We'll leave him off. But yeah, at this point, you're going to want to fill in. Here's a surprise. I have... They're off screen. I'm not... let's unlock this. I'll just show it briefly. You can see here 2 players without Maul. That's almost pretty bizarre. You don't really see that these days. There's been enough time to get a Maul in the Kyber range. With the Savage Omicron, we do see over half, 5 of us have Relic and Amid Savages, and that's how it should be. And no, there's 1 player with a faster Savage than me at 234. I'm at 231. Then the rest, the 2 players not even bothering to gear up their Moff Gideons. The rest of this is fine. With Profundities, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Half the bracket has the Profundity unlocked. Most of them, though, you see off screen. My opponent does not. So that's a place where he's a guy who's gonna struggle up against me. We'll take a look at the Hotbot now. With the Hotbot here, he's in a slightly larger guild with decent clears, small on the undersizes, so we'll have some wiggle room most likely. These items we've highlighted. He's 12 Amis in total. He's an 11 Omicron player. Actually, we should mention the Omicrons. I glossed over these in the first pass. My opponent's actually at the high end in that, like, probably on average around 8 or 9. Really 7s and 4s, some weird outliers. My opponent's looking pretty good though, and most of those, and with a good amount of Grand Arena Amis, more than me. Now back to this, what we are seeing. With Relic distribution, good, well distributed. He's got better counts than me. Good speeds. He has speeds on the characters that matter. That's going to count for something. No Swolo. His Star Killer is slightly slower than mine, not bad. Alright, well, let's check out the defense. Actually, we gotta check out his roster. I'm just gonna feel for the depth of speed. His dash is at 299. So, right, the armor's probably over 299. Yeah, 307. So we're looking at 14. He's right in line with me. I haven't double checked what my counts are, but I was in like the 13 or 14 character. Something I need to improve on. But I've got that long promised video stream I want to do about it, which is why I've held off. It will be this month though. It was supposed to be around Thanksgiving, but it's going to be December. It's sometime this month. Alright, defense. No real changes from last 5v5 season. We got Inquisitors because they're not really worth using on offense. At least the Fifth Brother lead for now. Down below, Malgus, CLS. Really a lot of it just bait. What we're really seeing is my opponent's not going to mess with my fleet. So I'm not overly concerned with setting a good defense. Even like Raddus, I might want him for offense. And here's how I play my fleet. Negotiator, Profundity, you can see he's now at 5 stars. And we have Chimera. Now with my opponent, we got some GLs. Looking at Dash, no Datacron, but he does have the Ami, Gas, Maul, and JMK with R2. Down below we got Malgus. Malgus, Raddus, Traya with the Savage. I mean, that's a good pairing. I've used that on offense. You can't sleep on that. I like that, can punch up. And then we got Qui-Gon. So how I made 2 videos today where by the time I post this, the videos will be up. So I've been working on that. Plus I got a deadline. I got a meeting tomorrow. So I might not even do all this right now. I should really go to bed. Change of plans. The opening was recorded while the Grand Arena was going on. I am now recording this afterwards. We captured some footage. You can see from the banner count, I threw in a battle attack. I didn't think I was going to have time. I decided to not play at night, go to bed, play in the morning. Work didn't cooperate. Didn't think I was going to attack. You can see there was 42 minutes left. Things kind of changed near the end of things where I'd had enough time to throw in a few teams. So this is going to mostly be testing, kind of a mess. We'll talk through it. Debated whether or not to even show it, but I think just for thoroughness, we'll just show what I threw in here. I think there's something in here that's interesting. Some of this is a mess. So the battle I started with, that I just threw in a team up against the Night Sisters, but where's the play one? To do the 10 banners, and then I didn't even play it. The rest of this, though, or I did play it a little bit, I think. Or started playing it and then stopped. Malgus here, JML. This was the first time I think I've used JML up against Malgus and wasn't really paying attention, and afterwards I realized this one, what I realized was Malgus is not idiot proof. Like JMK versus Malgus is idiot proof. I couldn't use JMK up against this Malgus because up north there's a JMK team that would need to be countered with JMK. So with this one here, I threw in my JML and there's definitely more of a strategy here, and it's not one that I'm still need to educate myself on. Like, I don't know if I should have marked Malgus first and gone through him, or if I got too distracted. It's something that I think I'll take some time in the squad arena and figure out. Obviously, the Omicron is going to make it harder to make one-for-one testing in the squad arena, but it'll still give me some directional information. Because the issue here is the cooldowns being affected and the fear, which is what makes this much more of a nuisance than what JMK has to do. Because JMK, you just focus on Malgus, take him out, and then it's easy. Now we get through most of this, but I think part of it is I'm just getting too distracted and not really thinking through what I'm doing. Obviously I can't stun him right now, with all the shock, I can't get the full benefit of inherited teachings. I can't get the assists. No, I probably, yeah, that's, so it's a lot slower to get to the ultimate with JML. And there were moments earlier in the battle where I did do a lot more damage up against Malgus, and maybe the stacking health, I gave him too much time, so that's part of the reason why I'm thinking maybe I should have just marked him to begin with. But it's just because with JMK, I never, that's how I normally handled Malgus, so I never really had to consider how I would counter him with JML, which is something you do want to know. You can't, what this is showing is you can't always rely on using your comfortable counters. And when you have 40 minutes left, not the time to try and learn something you don't know. You'll see some of these battles I just hit auto and I don't even play because work calling me away, having to deal with certain things. Like it's fine. Next time we'll know the strategy. It was one of those things I took for granted where I figured I knew, and then I realized in the moment it's like, oh, I don't know. And then JMK here is why I didn't use my JMK up against it. But the issue here, no, I guess that's a different match. That was a different match, never mind. Because I also haven't posted the videos for round 2 and round 3, obviously. Those will be coming rapidly in the next couple days. I prioritized the talk videos instead of posting these Grand Arena videos, which is why you got a few rapid talk videos last week. I think we did 4 talk videos in a row. Yeah, we had our rant video on the territory battles and really concerning my worries about how it will be affecting Grand Arena. And territory battles is active now as I record this. And it's, when you consider how many teams are needed, maybe it's just we focus our relics onto a few squads and a few members of the guild will throw relics on a character we don't want to. That's best case scenario, but it might mean like all our GL squads are relic 9 across the boards, and then a few key characters and squads also are relic 9 across the board in order to accommodate these squads, at least accommodate this territory battle. At least in the long term, most of us don't have the relic material. Hold on a second. We're gonna do this. What I shouldn't be doing is cooking food while I do this because I can smell it burning right now. I figured, I don't know, I like to foolishly multitask. So we'll let this run out. This is at 1.5 speed, so it's not actually 2 minutes that I'm going to need to be sitting here, but I can smell the burning. Probably set that pan a little high. I'm going to just turn it off. You can see we're having some issues getting through. Normally I like to have I like to have mace. Like, We eventually get through no problem, but it was a little slow going at the start of it. Okay, crisis averted. That pan was way too high on the heat. That's fine. We hit the caramelization stage, not an actual burning stage. And this is not a Grand Arena to take too seriously. This is a for fun one. And okay, so we're going to just Sith Trio this. Sith Trio is just what I do up against Raddus, except once we put that Omicron on Traya, I'm probably not going to want to do that anymore, because I think this Omicron is going to be really good, where it's going to bump up what Traya can handle to the extent where this might not be a worthy use of Traya. Now, it's a pretty good squad. It's a pretty good defensive team where maybe I'll be fine with it, because otherwise we're using gas. I think Traya Omicron might still be worth it. It just depends how high Traya can bump up. Because the potential's there. And if you watch the talk video where I discussed the Traya Ami, I think Nihilist Lead is going to have a ton of potential, because Nihilist Lead converts protection into health. So it means that 90% threshold to trigger the refresh is going to be very easy to achieve with Nihilist Lead, since you're not going to have to burn through a bunch of protection in order to do it. And it also means Held by Hatred is going to be triggered on Scion quickly. It's the first thing I'm going to test out. I'm hoping it shows up, the update shows up before the lock-in. So I guess I'll post this video before the lock-in, but I'm not having a lot of confidence because CG usually does updates on Wednesdays. And for us to go 2 weeks of Grand Arena where we couldn't test out this Traya Ami is a little disappointing. But I think maybe CG's doing that intentionally because they realize how OP this Ami might be. So they're delaying us getting a lot of 5v5 testing opportunities. Because by waiting a day, waiting until after lock-in, that means we only get a week of 5v5 testing before the season's over and we move into a 3v3 scenario. Yeah, so cleaning up Malgus, just Zam and Mando. Easy stuff. There's no Lord Vader, so I don't need to be concerned with my Fennec. Probably shouldn't even use Fennec anyway. There's other bounty hunters we could have used. Zam's really there just for the extra stats, and there's contract, eliminate Malgus, and we're good. It probably would have been better off testing out my gas up against Malgus and being more familiar with that counter. Although it's just my general attitude, I think that reason why I didn't do it, I think I actually did consider it, is because I don't like to mess around with Malgus. I just want to use a GL and take him out. And I just thought JML versus Malgus was more idiot-proof than it turns out to be. Oh, I remember this now. Yeah. So we have the Savage Army here, and I know this is a good squad because I've used it last 5v5 season. I've used it to punch up, and it caused its own. I saw its potential for it, so I guess we did this in a different order. So we'll discuss that more in a moment. But first we're doing gas up against Maul. This is standard stuff, nothing big here. There is Bam. Bam changes it a little bit because he can put up the damage immunity. I prefer, though, Bow, because Bow with the recovery, I think, is more valuable. And actually, I think in a defensive scenario, I don't know if I want Watt there. Because I don't know if Watt plays it right on defense. Like, I don't think he does. Maybe... yeah, like, there's just nothing beneficial coming out here. So we got gas, dash left. I don't even remember how much we get through here before we run out of time. So you can see we have 20 minutes left. I want to get to the back wall because what I want to do is test out a few squads. Because the new thing is that Sana's the big new thing for this week. And Droids we have a little more progress on. Hutt Cartel I have a little bit more progress on. So these are things I want to test out. So troopers here, this is risky. I still like what I was thinking here. That the idea is 2 of these characters are at gear 12 that hopefully I can punch through them quickly enough. Obviously, we're going to be losing health with all the assists, but it doesn't matter if I'm taking turns. The bigger issue is Sith Marauder, really. Like, I knew Savage was going to be gaining turn meter. My hope was just to avoid him so that wouldn't be an issue. Sith Marauder, though, is gaining a bunch of turn meter, and that was something I did forget about, because that's messing up my stacks. Because you can see, like, Savage here, he's not getting the, what is that called? Resilient defense. So I don't have to focus in on him, and it's not a problem. The problem, though, is Sith Marauder is getting turn meter all the time. Because with Savage, as long as we ignore him, we don't need to worry about him. So we get through Scion. Now I want to get rid of Marauder because Marauder's messing things up. But then I'm realizing, okay, Marauder's not really being helped. We're not making enough progress on Marauder quickly, so I decided to go after Nihilus. Because Nihilus we are making more progress through fast enough. Well, you'll see it. Like, things are getting a little wonky, but we're still okay. Get the extra stack on. See, we get an extra stack on Dark Trooper. I'm trying to finish my sentence a bit better. This, I think, would have been fine if I had relics. But I'm dealing with a lot of Gear 11 troopers. Like, the only relic trooper here is Piet. My Dark Trooper, who I would love and should have at relics, is only at Gear 12. So just taking its time. It's gonna. We still get through Nihilus. Like, I'll spoil that. Like, it's a little scary, but there he finally goes down. Took a couple armor shreds, but we're out of time. Traya, it just has so much protection up, though, that dealing with her is kind of an issue. I think the priorities that I went through them, I think I chose the wrong priorities. And it's really Sith Marauder messed that up. Or I messed up by not considering Sith Marauder effectively. And it's something I shouldn't have been surprised. Maybe not. I shouldn't have forgot about, because I used Sith Marauder in that squad for exactly that reason. Okay, so now we're using Hutt Cartel against Qui-Gon. This is just to see what happens. I think I should have saved that A. Well, we cleared the foresight, but I think I should have saved it regardless. I think I should... No, stay focused. Stay focused. That's... Yeah, so we get the taunt back up. Thermals are going to go off soon. The daze is a problem. Not having stealth is a problem. But we take out Qui-Gon. It's something that... This was a squad that is too much for the Hutt Cartel, but you've seen me do some stuff for the Hutt Cartel, even though they're at low stars in Gear 11. Like, that squad can do some things up against the right squads. Like, I really like taking it up against Newt squads. It's a low banner counter, but it's still interesting. This is just a nonsense squad, so I can use the Ami. And I think I do it later, but we decide not to do it. Or I do it now. I just changed my mind about where I wanted to use it. But I should maybe spend the crystals to re-roll the Dash Ami, because I don't have the right level 9 ability on it. I'm just out of the materials to continue attempting rolls. I got plenty of crystals. It took me time, but I replenished my crystals. The priority video for this week is I want to make a video updating my methods, thoughts on gearing in regards to the gearing update. What I think it means for the game, what I think the efficiency and gearing opportunities are now. Like, this doesn't... The quick version is, this doesn't eliminate my belief in Gear 11 as the first starting ground. What it's done is shrunken the moat. It's not as big of an advantage as it was, because now it basically means players are going to be able to do it on accident without intent. But it's still the way I think rosters should be built. It's just you're going to be able to catch up to a roster like mine pretty quickly and be able to replicate what I do fairly quickly and fairly easily. Though we'll talk a lot more about that in that upcoming video. I don't know why I tested Hondo there. I just wanted to test Hondo up against something. Like, he's, what, 5 stars? 6 stars? No, he's 7 stars now. No, he's 7 stars now, not at the time of this video. This video, he was 5 stars. This, I think, is interesting. This is a mess. But what it teaches me... Like, this seems like it's going okay at first. Like, okay, the damage will ramp up. But you can see Traya's leadership is just weakening Wampa. And pretty soon... You know, and the debuffs don't matter, but the debuffs do mean the health pool is ramping up. But combined with losing health when he counters, with that overpower, that was a disaster. But interesting thing to learn about. This should have been this was an instinct, and I should have just leaned into it. I abandoned it at some point. One thing, though, is, and I think I learned it in this match, is I don't want to do this with the Resistance heroes. Because you'll see it in a moment. We put everybody under stealth. That's what I want. But as soon... Maybe not as soon. It'll happen in a moment. Because JTR is a nice counter. There, I forget what triggers it, but now JTR is taunting, which is exactly what I don't want, because I don't want JTR to go into the yellow. Because once she's below 50% health, then Swolo can be taken out. But as long as she's under stealth, Swolo can take whatever damage it takes, and there's no threat. And with the undispellable healing immunity, she's very effective against Savage. I'm just never going to pair her or pair the Resistance heroes with her again. Okay, so Sortie here. I just want to test out the droids up against something. And we don't have enough time to figure anything else out. And without a leader, this is something we can do. But the big lesson that I've been showing over the past several weeks is these droids are not good at low stars. They already do decent damage. There's a lot of potential there. But they just are so easy to take out that you can't do that much. I mean, I think Afra is going to change a lot, because Afra will have that 5v5 Omicron. I'll definitely put that one on, I imagine. The 3v3 Amis, I really think it's going to be difficult for me to put those on, because to put 2 Amis on to get a 3v3 team, that's hard to square. Alright, we're down to a few minutes left in this Grand Arena, so not too much more we can test out. So we're going to go with Sana, and this is where I learned that pairing Captain Han with my dash earlier was a massive mistake. Because what I don't consider is how easy Sana is to take out right now. I don't know if Captain Han is somebody we're going to want to put on a Relic Sana team, but I think any low star Sana team, before we have her at Relics, we are going to want Captain Han because of those reasons. Because of that reason right there. Because she is vulnerable. And this doesn't matter. That's the last battle, I believe. Because we're down to what? 1 minute and 40 something seconds. We got Iden here. I'm throwing in Savage up against Iden. And you can see the amount of progress we make in the minute of play that we're able to accomplish. Which is honestly, as I recall, pretty good. Like, Savage definitely could solo Iden. At least these weaker Iden versions, because she's technically increasing damage, and maybe a Relic Iden squad could get enough damage that if a battle ran on long enough, then maybe SWGOH wouldn't be able to handle it, but it's fairly strong. And with another couple seconds, we would have been able to win that match. So congrats to my opponent. He attacked first, right? I forget if he attacked first. Well, it's the next video I break it down. I think he one-shot. No, he didn't one-shot. Let me double check this. Okay, here's the recap and results. This is technically from the next video, but this should be on this one. You can see that my opponent needed 2 attacks up against Mon Mothma. He needed 2 attacks up against Hux. Like, this was a match, had I had the amount of time I needed, would have been a victory. Like, I would have full cleared this guy. But it's just I thought I was going to have more time and my morning would go differently, and we didn't get it. So 4 attacks up against Grievous, 2 up against Qui-Gon. And the defense was fairly weak. We got through the strongest teams, everything that was remaining. This stuff we would have been able to effectively counter. Just not in 40 minutes. With, I don't know, an hour and a half. Like, I usually need about 90 minutes, and that I can handle things. With a plan, we probably could have handled it in 50 minutes-ish. But when we were playing on the fly, not the way to play. Let's cut it there. Next 2 battles, though, I was able to play those with the allotted time. One I recorded live, one the audio is recorded after the fact, like this one. Those videos will be up in the following days. And hopefully we get that Traya on me, so next week's videos, or I guess it's going to be later this week's videos, you'll see the Traya on me in action if CG cooperates. Thank you for watching. Be safe out there, everyone. This is still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.